It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Let's see how this works tonight. Hopefully we don't have an epic failure like last week, right? My internet last week just took a crap right in the beginning of the stream, and it was just, the funny thing is that in the past I would get all stressed out and but I really was super chill. I was like, well, it is what it is. Thanks so much for becoming a channel supporter. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, I had the internet people come out. They did some stuff and changed the modem and, whatever. We'll see how it works. I don't have complete confidence that they fixed everything, to be honest with you. The day before they came out last Friday, it started working and it was working fine. But I still pressured him. I was like, dude, just change the modem, please. I didn't want to have a problem again. And so far I ran the numbers and stuff, and today it was looking pretty good. The internet in general for everybody right now is kind of crappy. Especially in the really densely populated areas that don't have fiber. I don't have fiber here. I'm still on copper. But it's gig speeds. I get 1,000 up. Well, I think I get 900 up, or I'm sorry, 900 down, and about 35 up usually is what I get. So, it is what it is. I'm stuck with the only thing I can get because I've only got one provider, and that's Spectrum or Charter is the only provider that's here. So anyways, let's start this stream off. Okay. For those that are new, because I know we have a lot of new viewers in here. Okay. My name is Chris. I'm an HVACR service tech here in Southern California. So, I own a small business. I run it with my father. I grew up working for my father and, partnered with him, and we run a company together to this day. About in November of 2017, I started making videos. And honestly, I didn't intend to make them public, okay? I kind of wished I could make them public, but I was a little bit nervous, and I was really making training videos for my own employees, okay? I wasn't really planning on, per se, pushing the public button. So the first two videos on my channel, you can still go back because they're still on there. The very first two videos were just me showing my service technicians. Hey, this is how I troubleshooted a call. This is where the problems I ran into. I think the first video I ever did was a fuse issue, right? It was a blown fuse. And I was like, look, we don't just change a fuse. We figure out why the fuse blew, because fuses don't just go bad. Something caused them to go bad. Just like compressors don't just go bad, they get murdered, right? That's the phrase that we use, and there's truth in that, okay? I mean, there's an occasional, very small percentage of compressors that do fail because of whatever issue, but anyways, I started a YouTube channel. Eventually, after the first 2 videos, I hit the public button, and this happened. It just exploded. I never anticipated. I probably don't treat this the way that I should, but here I am, and this is what you get, okay? So I produce typically 2 videos a week, and then I do these live streams to kind of answer questions. So now that we've got the formalities out, that's why we're here. Let's talk about what we got going on. So I tried to live stream last week. It didn't work, so therefore I got 4 videos to talk about now, and I got a whole list of questions I want to talk about. Lots of stuff going on in the chat. Thank you guys so very much. Special announcement, first thing right off the bat, a lot of you already follow my social medias, you already follow my channel, and a lot of you already supported me in a big, big way, okay? I've been working on a website for the last, I'd say 4 months, and it's been super stressful, okay? I tried to do it myself, and it was a nightmare because I've got my own like particular way that I like things done. I want a certain website. I want it to look this certain way. And I was just stressing out because I could not figure it out. I watched so many YouTube videos on how to create a website. I paid so much money for like website builders and all this different stuff. And then I finally just paid the man, okay? I had a guy design a website for me. It is officially launched. There is merch available on the website. I do have grand plans for the website eventually. The first thing I wanted to do was create a merch store because you guys have seen all this merch that I have behind me right here. I've had it sitting there for the last couple months in anticipation of this website launching, okay? So the website is hvacrvideos.com. Super easy, right? Just like my YouTube channel, hvacrvideos.com. You guys can go check it out if you're interested. There's shirts, there's hats, there's all that stuff. I should caveat that with saying that you guys blew me up. I was very nervous when I ordered all those shirts. Those shirts right there were... very expensive, let's say that, okay? You guys have really been blowing it up. I launched the website Saturday evening, I think, and I think we already have over 100 sales, and thank you guys so very much for doing that. NACA Fire and Security, thank you so very much for that super chat. That is awesome. Let me address that right now. I really do appreciate the super chats and people becoming channel members and different things like that. That is awesome. It is not expected, okay? I'm going to keep doing these videos whether or not you guys super chat, whether or not you guys become channel supporters or not, because I really do enjoy this. Now, with that being said, because I enjoy this, I'm going to continue to do this the way that I want to do this. Yes, I do have some people that I work with, some sponsors, Sporlin, Refrigeration Technologies, but I work with them in the way that I want to work with them, okay? Nobody dictates the way that I run my channel, and I like to have fun doing it. I have to be honest with you, the website was a pretty stressful thing, and in hindsight, I didn't have fun doing the website. That was not fun because I tried to do it myself. I probably should have just paid the guy from the beginning. Maybe that would have taken some stress off me, but anyways, no, blah, blah, blah. But I really, really appreciate the support. Okay, thank you guys so very much. So as far as the merch and the hats and different things go, my initial, all the large hats I'm completely out of. I think you guys bought like 25 of them or something like that. They're already gone. I already placed another order for hats. There's another 50 coming. I'm a little conservative with the ordering because, again, that's money that I'm putting out there that I'm a little bit afraid to do because it's like, we're in this weird time right now. I didn't know how this was going to work out, but you guys are awesome. You have been supporting me. Thank you very much. For those of you that are still interested, definitely check it out, hvacrvideos.com. And I did say that I do have plans for that. So eventually, I think my next goal right now is to go ahead and do like tool links. And eventually, I'd like to have like video links, different things like that. But again, I just want it to be a place for people to go to get information, to find information about my videos, that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm having fun with it. So that's the important thing. So let's keep it fun. I don't ever want to make this a job. I don't ever want it to become a thing that I dread every single day. So let's just keep it fun. And that's what I want to do. All right. So again, thanks for bearing with me with the intro. So we got a whole chat going on right now. And great question. Quad Voltage XX asked me any ideas for or any plans for a giveaway. Yes, I do have plans for a giveaway, but I'm going to say that I'm not going to do it on this stream, okay? Because the initial launch of everything, there's so many of those shirts and so many of those hats that are no longer available. So my wife and I, what we did, my wife is going to be, and you guys will start seeing communications from my wife because my wife is going to be the person handling the merch, fulfillment, shipping, and different things like that. So more than likely, you're going to see messages coming from her. Her name is Jill. You'll see a message at hvacrvideos.com coming from her if she has any questions about your order or anything like that. So we were kind of talking about everything, and because of the way that everything kind of sold out, I've got, again, it blew me away, but I've got just about 100 orders already since Saturday, and I'm just mind blown. Again, thank you guys very much. So with that being said, I don't want to give away something that I don't have. So I will do giveaways coming up soon, but because the stock is so low, we only shipped out 4 orders this morning as a test, and it all went great. So the software and everything that I'm using is working like it should be. So once we get everything figured out and get more stock in, we'll definitely do giveaways and different things like that, okay? So just not on this stream as of yet, okay? So for those that are new, thanks for coming in here, okay? I usually go over a list of things. For those that are in the chat, I haven't been paying attention, but hey, how you guys doing, okay? We got the overtime crew in here. I see Adam, I see Joe. I don't know if I see Bill yet or not. For those of you that don't know, I do a show on Friday evenings with the Overtime Show. Okay, they allow me to come onto their show. I really appreciate it, and it's just like a hangout. Okay, so it's kind of an extension of this live stream. We do go a little bit educational, but it's more of a genuine hangout with the guys, and we talk a little bit of shop back and forth. We talk about our week, what happened, and stuff like that. So definitely check it out. Overtime guys, feel free to go ahead and link the Overtime Show in the chat. I believe the moderator bot's going to throw a link here in a little while. So let's see. Ike, yeah, he says he sees my modem. Yeah, my modem's right down there. I keep them back there. I got my modem and my router. They're both sitting back there. Yeah, so my internet company came out and changed the modem. So all right, so I try to pay attention to the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and go to my list of things because I got a lot of stuff to talk about, okay? So we're kind of bouncing off a couple different ideas. I'm not going to announce anything officially yet, okay? But there's a very good possibility we might bring Discord back into the HVACR videos thing, okay? But it's going to be different. It's not going to be an epic failure like the last time we launched a Discord. It was just out of control. I didn't like it. There's a very good possibility. But again, I'm not going to share any links as of yet. But stay tuned. I have some ways that I wanted to work out. I don't want it to see, like the last time we did a Discord server, it turned into something toxic, and I didn't like it. But this time we're going to try to change it a little bit. So that's going to be coming soon, very soon, okay? I wanted to get through this website thing, and now that the website's done, I've got some other plans, so we're going to get moving on some other things. So the Discord server's very soon going to be coming, okay? Let's go ahead and talk about my last 4 videos because I didn't do a live stream last week, right? So let's start with the very first one. The very first one was, why is the airflow so low? And it was a kitchen AC that just wasn't working quite right, okay? The airflow was very low on it. And what I found was the indoor blower assembly was completely plugged up with crap, okay? The wheel was just jammed with stuff. Coming out of the first lockdown that we had, right, with the virus and all that crap, and here we are going into another one, but still coming out with the first one, we had a lot of restaurants that were saving money. HVAC with Greg, thank you very much for that super chat, bud. That is awesome. Okay. So coming out of the first lockdown, we had the restaurants basically calling us left and right. The service calls were going through the roof, and every call pretty much, even to this day, has been cleaning. Okay. Epic cleaning. Like, my gosh, what we have to do to get these units cleaned up, because a lot of these restaurants actually weren't shutting off their equipment, and it was just running and running and running. They weren't changing filters, or they didn't have filters, that kind of stuff. So we had a service call, kitchen AC not working. I dove into it. I made a video about it. It started with one thing. We noticed that the indoor airflow was really low. We had a loose belt. We had a dirty blower wheel. diagnosed the unit previously, actually, in a video a couple months ago about a bad disconnect, but it all just kind of came to it because the customer never approved it. So I ended up having to change a disconnect. We ended up having to change some contactors because they were in really bad shape. And after we did all that, we got the unit up and running it pretty good. It still has some issues. You know, these units that I work on, they're not perfect, okay? And I can't necessarily fix everything to 100% perfection because the customer doesn't have the money to do that. In my situation, I was running a little bit high on the head pressure, and I noticed that the condenser fan motors were the wrong condenser fan motors. They were aftermarket condenser fan motors, and the stack on the motors was too long. Joe Shelby, thank you very much for becoming a channel supporter, dude. That is flipping awesome. That is, you guys' support just blows me away. Thank you very much, okay? So the condenser fan motors were the wrong fan motors, but I had to leave them in there, okay? Because I can't just change everything. They were still working. Yeah, we were running a little high on the head pressure, but we got the unit operating as best as possible, okay? The next video that I have is it's been iced up for 4 months. That was the video title, okay? And again, coming out of the whole COVID, the first lockdown, the customer called me and said, hey, you know, actually, let me step this back. The customer called me before the first lockdown, and they said, hey, we got ice on our walk-in freezer, okay? But then everything happened, and they said, no, just hold off. It's operating, okay? So we went through the whole lockdown thing, and then we came out of the lockdown a couple weeks out, and they called me back again. So we went out there, and we had 4 months of ice built up on that evaporator coil, okay? I had to make an educated guess, essentially. While I was in there, I went ahead and changed the evaporator sensor, the coil sensor, or I'm sorry, the evaporator sensor, the suction line sensor, and the air temperature sensor because, oh, that was weird. I felt a weird thing on my neck, but I had to change, or I didn't have to, but while I was in there defrosting that coil, I ended up changing them, okay? That was a long day too, because while I was working on it, I had another service technician with me, and while he was driving to the location to meet me, to help me, his van broke down. So, you know, this is how business works. He was driving out there. His van started to break down. He turned around. Actually, he was going to get me parts. That's why. He was already there, and he was going to get me parts, and he had to turn around, and he came back, and we had to call a tow truck to get his van, okay? Again, having to deal with this stuff while I'm trying to repair something, getting a tow truck lined up and everything, tow it to the dealership. Ended up being nothing. In Secrets, thank you very much for that super chat, man. That is awesome. So after that, while I'm doing a service call, I'm having to deal with a broken down van. I ended up giving my van to the service tech, having him drive down and get me the fan blades from that video. And then he had to pick me up. What else did he have to? He had to pick me up something else. Oh, some insulation tape, I think, or something. No, some insulation. That's right. And I redid the insulation on that suction P-trap. Hey, when we're doing this stuff, I can't always be perfect. I'm not the best service technician out there, guys. I'm not an insulator. So you saw me insulate that suction line. In a perfect world, I'd have cut the refrigeration line and slid the insulation on. But, you know, I couldn't, okay? So I just cut it up. It's not perfect. I did what I did. I taped it up. It was what it was. It wasn't the most beautiful thing in the world, but it was functional. I actually have to go back up there to do something else to work on an AC. And I want to go look at that walk-in freezer to see if that suction line is still, if it's got ice buildup, if the insulation completely failed. I was kind of curious if my insulation job was going to work or not, but okay. So I covered those 2 videos. I'm going to take a look at the chat real quick, and then I'm going to jump to a couple more, okay? So let me see if I'm missing anything right now. How often do TxVs typically go bad, HVAC kid? TxVs usually don't fail very often, okay? TxVs, there's a couple different failures on a TxV. I've got 2 of them right here. Hold on just a second. There we go, knocking stuff down. Go figure. All right, so let me pull this TxV open right here, and I'll show you guys. So I have a cutaway of a TxV right here, okay? And there goes the pin. But this is the cutaway, okay? There's really not much to a TxV. I'm sure that that's not coming through super amazing, but I've got lots of videos where I show this cutaway, okay? So how often do TxVs fail? They really don't fail that often. Things cause them to go bad. For instance, this is the TxV from my most recent video. of a beer walk-in that wasn't temping properly and the TxV wasn't working correctly, okay? So what causes TxVs to fail? Well, this one had a couple failures going on, but I noticed in my most recent video that I had really high superheat. And guess what? The strainer on the TxV is plugged up. One of the most common failures of a TxV is the strainer plugging up. We put a strainer on there to protect the insides of the TxV from gumming up. But I'm going to show you guys something with this TxV, okay? This is the one that wasn't working right. And the reason why, there was a couple things that led me to change this, but it was pissing gas out of the superheat stem right there. But it does have a packing, and that's something I wanted to address, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a little while. But the packing was leaking on it, okay? But not only that, I had really high superheat, more than likely caused by the plugged up strainer, okay? But the insides of the TxV can often be very, very dirty, especially if people are brazing without nitrogen. And again, I'm going to get into that a little bit more here in a minute. We're going to talk about that in depth, okay? So TxVs don't fail very often unless they're installed incorrectly. There's lots of factors that go into a TxV that's failing, okay? So let me see what else I'm missing in here. Okay, nothing there yet. All right. Now let's get to the other two videos, and then I want to dive into some things real quick, okay? So then I had a video on a a water leak from a kitchen AC. That was this week, right? Or that was last week. Water leaking from the kitchen, and it was due to a plugged up main drain. Okay, again, all my stuff has been cleaning issues lately, right? So we had a call. I went out there. It wasn't full of water. You guys saw in the video, but then I sprayed down the evaporator and the drain pan filled up and then it didn't drain. So I knew that there was something going on, and there goes that Coke nose already starting to itch. I don't know what it is about live streams and my nose itching. All right, let me see. Let me turn that off real quick. This is not the perfect stream. I don't have everything all lined up amazingly and stuff. It is what it is, right? All right. So on the water leak issue, I showed in the video how I blow out a main drain for a building. So in that particular situation, I got so many questions on that video. This was the water leak from the kitchen AC. Why in California do we pipe our condensate drains into the sewer? Okay, why do we not just drain it onto the roof? Well, in a lot of cities and a lot of municipalities, it's actually the code, okay? We are not supposed to drain our condensate directly onto the roof. It's just how we do it. So we pipe them into the sewer. HVACR Wiz, thank you so very much for that super chat. That is awesome. Hey, you know what, HVACR Wiz, great point. I am going to work on stickers for the merch, so those will be coming up. I had to get the shirts and the hats out first because those were already designed. But yes, there will be stickers soon, okay? So in that video, why do we pipe our condensate down into the building? Because the code requires us to. So it's very common. We do not just typically drain it onto the roof, okay? Because in California, we're near the ocean, and all of our stuff goes to the ocean inevitably, okay? So they want to send it into the sewer so that way they can process it, clean it, and then dump it into the ocean. Because inevitably, anything you put into the sewer, whether it be toilet water or anything like that, inevitably goes to the ocean. That's just how it works, but they run it through their their filters and all that different stuff, right? On another note, in the city of Los Angeles and county of Los Angeles, there's several cities that they actually have reclaimed water running into the drinking water system, and they say that water is actually cleaner and safer to drink than other water, like bottled water, which is a whole nother thing. But anyways, tangent, right? Last video, beer walking at 50 degrees, okay? That was the one where I walked up to the unit and it was working, but then I found a couple different things. That was the one where we had a failed TxV. So the TxV failed for a couple different reasons, okay? Now, the question is, why did I change this TxV when I could have potentially just cleaned the strainer, when I could have potentially just tightened the packing on the valve, okay? This is an older G-series valve. It could have been repaired, okay? Joshua Sweet, thank you very much. Send me an email, Joshua Sweet, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I can definitely give you some advice on your residential air conditioner that's not working. So send me an email, okay? So The walk-in, I arrived, the unit was down to temperature, but what I found was when I went onto the roof, I just found a lot of different issues. Okay, I found that the low pressure control was not cutting out. I found that the unit had really high superheat. I found that the temperature controller's differential was way too close. I didn't like how tight it was, okay? But it was working. So, I just kind of looked at everything and I decided to start tackling the issues one at a time. The first issue I was going to tackle was the temperature controller. First off, I said that I didn't like that style of temperature controller. I want to make it clear that was an older Danfoss temperature controller. It looked like a pressure control, but it actually was not a pressure control. It's just a style of control that they make. Ronco makes them. A bunch of different manufacturers make them like that. I think even Johnson Controls might make them like that. But it looks like a pressure control. It uses the body of a pressure control, but it's not. It's an actual cold control. It uses air temperature. But I just don't like that style because they're a little bit difficult to work with. I'm not very comfortable with them. So I've always wanted to change it, but I've never found a justifiable reason to change it, okay? Because it's worked pretty good. And you got to give it credit. That particular control has been in there for damn near 20 years, and it's been working fine. So even though I don't like it, doesn't mean it has to be replaced, okay? But because the differential was very tight, and also notice that the differential was tight, but then the cut in and the cut out kept changing, right? So 1 minute it would cut out at 38 degrees, then it would be 37. It was going back and forth and I just didn't like it, okay? So I went ahead and I started with changing the temperature controller. I used a key to therm temp plus defrost controller. Now that particular controller has got defrost built into the control. So someone had actually asked me in the chat, why did you take out the defrost clock? Because the control has defrost built into it. It's a microprocessor based control and it has logic built into it. So we threw 6 defrosts at 15 minutes or 15 minutes, and it's going to handle all that by itself. So that took care of that problem. We eliminated that. Then we moved on to the next thing. I noticed that I had really high superheat. So I went to try to adjust the valve, and then I noticed that the superheat stem was leaking at the packing. But then on top of that, I just looked at the shape of the valve and I thought, you know what? This really isn't worth the headache to me. I don't stock that power head. I could have tried to pull it apart. It was going to be a little bit difficult, but it was easier and cheaper for me. And I was way out in the boonies, out in the middle of nowhere. It was easier and cheaper for me to take my spoiling kit, build a new valve, and then just replace it. Okay. So another thing I wanted to point out, and someone pointed it out in the video. Okay. But I think I even addressed it in the video. I was not brazing with nitrogen. Guys, I am not perfect. I do not always follow every single perfect step, perfect everything. I'm not that perfect technician, okay? I'm a real world technician. You can't always braze with nitrogen. Sometimes that's practical. I'm going to tell you why I wasn't brazing with nitrogen in that particular situation. It was 100 and whatever it was, 10 degrees outside. I was hotter than shit. I was tired. I just didn't want to drag my nitrogen up onto the roof, okay? So I did what I did. I'm not perfect, okay? I was lazy. I've said that many times. So I wasn't brazing with nitrogen. It'll be fine, guys. I try to follow proper practices as much as possible, but I do have to be honest with you guys. I came up from an old school technician that taught me beer can cold, and all that stuff worked for a very long time. Now, our equipment is not as forgiving anymore, okay? But it is what it is. Now, another thing about that expansion valve. Why did I change this valve? On top of everything, I didn't have a good feeling about the valve anyways. This is a 2-ton expansion valve. That system required just under a 1-ton valve. So it was already oversized. So when I saw the high superheat, when I saw how old the valve it was, when I saw that it was oversized, I knew, you know what? It's time to change that valve. Had the spoiling kit, made a 1-ton or a balance port 1/2 to 1-ton valve, threw it in there, called it a day. It was good to go. Okay, so I can't stress enough. I am not a perfect service technician, but I try my best. I think the most important thing to understand as a service technician, as long as you understand the right way to do things, as long as you understand the proper procedures, how things operate, then if you choose to take shortcuts, if you choose to make a guess, an educated decision, at least you understand how things work, okay? I'm not the perfect person that pulls the perfect vacuum all the time, but I try, and I also know the right way to pull a vacuum, but there's times that it's practical. There's times that it's not, right? All right. So I'm going to look at the chat real quick, and LM Sylvia, you said it'll be fine. He's exactly right. I don't know if you were talking about me, but Most of the time, guys, we have these proper, perfect procedures that we're taught and all this different stuff, but there's what's book smart and there's real world smart, and you have to find a happy medium between the two. Okay, so nobody is perfect. Nobody pulls a perfect vacuum all the time. If you see the commenters in my chat saying you didn't braze with nitrogen, okay, guys, nobody brazes with nitrogen 100% of the time. It's not practical. Nobody pulls a vacuum 100% of the time. I've said it so many times. A perfect vacuum, I should say, 100% of the time. You need to be pulling a vacuum every time, but nobody pulls a perfect vacuum every time. Okay, there's practical and there's real world. So, or there's, yeah, that is practical now that I say that. So, all right, let's see what else. Can I change oil in compressors while it's filled with refrigerant? Yes, you can. Depending on the type of compressor, especially the scroll compressors that have oil fill ports and the old semi-hermetic compressors that have oil ports, you can do an oil change while the compressor still has refrigerant in it. There's a couple different things you have to do. Pump the system down. You can drain the oil via the pressure in the system. It's never going to be completely drained, although there is some devices on the semi-hermetic compressors. I used to install them. It was like a dip tube that would run into the crankcase of the compressor, and you could actually, it would pull the oil from the bottom. So it is possible. Greg, if I was not into HVAC, what would I do? What would be my second job pick? That is a great question, Greg. I've actually answered it before. And, okay, so here's what we did. I am not going to, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do it. All right. So here's how this is going to go. The first person that sends me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com and tells me in another life, I've said this many times on my stream before. So for those that are in here, you guys will know what I'm talking about. In another life, in another world, what would my job be? Okay. If you send me an email, the first email that I get that has the right guess as to what my job would be, if I was in another life, another thing, it would not be HVAC. Okay. The first person that sends me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com, I will send you a shirt. Okay, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I will do this. Okay, so it's permitting that I have the right size, or you might have to wait. But the first person that sends me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com that has the correct guess as to what my job would be in another life, that you're a true fan if you know what my job would be. So I'm monitoring my email right now. I want to know the first. Dave already got it, guys. Dave Weaver already got it. Dave Weaver already emailed me. Okay. In another life, Dave Weaver is the first person. Wow. And guys, it is a park ranger. I would be a park ranger of all things. I would be like Yellowstone National Park out in the middle of nowhere. That would be my other job. Okay. So Dave Weaver, you got it. Dave Weaver. I will send you a code that will allow you to get a shirt. Okay, Dave. So that will come. Dave, you need to, let me know your shirt size, Dave, and send me another email that says winner or something like that, so that way I remember it. I'm going to go ahead and put a star next to your name. So, yes, I would be a park ranger in another life. That would be my job. I am an outdoors person. I don't get to spend as much time as I want to in the outdoors, but I thrive on being out in the middle of nowhere with nobody around me, that I have to hike to a campground, that I have to carry everything on my back. That I truly love that. I don't get to do it enough, but I love backpacking. So. All right, let's see what else we got in. All right. No, some of these guesses are pretty funny, though. That is funny. I really, really appreciate it. For those, and I see compensation, you said you use my TrueTech Tools discount. So for those of you that are watching right now, if you guys want to support the stream, I really, really appreciate the super chats. I really appreciate, people buying merch and all that stuff. But there's a really easy way to support the stream. If you guys are considering buying tools, you guys can use my offer code with TrueTech Tools. I like TrueTech Tools. I've used them for a very long time. It's truetechtools.com. If you find that their prices are the best, and I encourage you guys to price shop, okay? Because sometimes you can find stuff cheaper and you guys need to make that decision. So don't just buy something from a website just because I said to. But if you like their tools, if you like their prices, you can use my offer code Big Picture, one word, Big Picture, okay? You got to make sure you spell picture like a picture frame correctly. big picture, one word, you'll get 8% off your order, and I get a very small commission from that, but it helps to support the channel. Therefore, you're not just sending me money, you're actually getting something for it because it's a tool that you were going to purchase. So compensation, thank you very much. I love the field piece probes. They're very, very high quality. If you have any problems with the field piece probes, don't hesitate to email me compensation. I can answer your questions, but I trust them very much. Coupled with the Measure Quick app, you're going to be a happy camper. All right, I'm going to get to my list of things to talk about because we got a lot of stuff since last week was canceled. And let's get to it, okay? So let's get some business aside, okay? Sporlan has a webinar July 16th coming up. It's methods of temperature control, okay? Talking about solenoid valves, and definitely want to check that one out, and temperature controllers. There's the Nightbot, the moderator bot is posting it in the chat, so definitely check that out. I'll post a link again right now, okay? You guys, if you guys go and register for that webinar and attend it, it actually helps me out because it makes them realize that I do have clout with you guys. So check that out, okay? But I really do like the Sporlan webinars. I usually tune in via Facebook or something like that while I'm working and just check them out because they are great webinars, okay? Quick connect fittings. Someone had asked me a question about what my thoughts were on some of these new quick connect fittings that are popping up in the supply houses, okay? If you guys go to United Refrigeration, which is a nationwide supply house, they are really showcasing and pushing these quick connect fittings. I can't remember the manufacturer of them, okay? But what is my opinions on them? I am an old school technician. I am very, very slow to adopt new technology, okay? Because I have trust issues when it comes to anything that is brand new, that is emerging in the market, okay? I am very interested in trying out the Sporlan Zoom Lock tool, not because they are a sponsor of mine, but because I'm intrigued by it, and it has been tested. A lot of people have used it for a very long time, and it has a history of being a good device. But with anything, it really comes down to following the installation instructions, okay? Even with some of these new fittings, you got to follow the installation instructions. What do I think about quick connect fittings, though, in general? So Sporlan has a Zoom Lock. I think that's a really cool tool, but that is more of a mechanical fitting. So they have these quick connect fittings that you just like push them on like a shark bite fitting. I have a hard time trusting those, to be honest with you, okay? I just don't know that I would trust that to make a leak-free refrigerant seal that could be vacuum rated. Like, I don't know. You know, it just doesn't seem like something that I really want to jump on the bandwagon quite yet. But I am very slow to adopt this new technology, so I'm going to give it some time before I jump on that bandwagon, and we'll see what happens. Time will tell. Someone else is going to have to be the guinea pig because I'm not going to be that guinea pig. Mike Jones, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. That is awesome, okay? All right, let's get that off my list. What else? Okay, great question. So someone had made an observation in my videos, and they were kind of curious. They said, why do I always back away to the side and say, I hope this doesn't blow up, and squint my eyes when I power things up? Guys, you have to remember that when I make my videos, when I give you a tech tip, when I say, don't wire a VFD backwards, when I tell you not to do that, it's because I've done it, okay? I've blown so many things up in my career that it's ridiculous. So why do I squint and back away when I power things up? Because I've seen bad things happen, and I've had a history of wiring things up incorrectly, being in a rush, not paying attention to things, okay? Just because you wire something up incorrectly doesn't mean you're a horrible service technician. That means that you're human, okay? And you make mistakes, but in hopes that you can learn from those mistakes. But in general, when I turn power on, like today, I changed a VFD. Actually, I started up a system that had a brand new VFD in it that I had reprogrammed and stuff. And I stepped to the side and I squinted when I turned it on because I was thinking it was going to blow up in my face because I've seen it happen, okay? I learned from my mistakes. So in general, I've made so many mistakes that I like, you know, when I power something up, every time I turn a compressor on, it's like, I hope I wired that up right. Click. Okay, it's running, you know. So I think that we have to try to take a step back, slow down, not be in such a rush when we're wiring things up, you know, but still, we make mistakes. It is what it is. Can I talk about the importance of starting troubleshooting with clean coils on package units? Ryan WK, that is a great point to make, okay? So right now is the perfect time to address this issue, okay? I get a service call out there because a kitchen AC is not working, okay? I walk up to the unit. The first thing I do, open up and I look at the filters and I look at the condenser coil. They're both plugged up and they're dirty, okay? There is absolutely no point in putting service gauges on that unit until I clean it up. So the customer, then I go down to them and I tell them, hey, look, your unit is filthy because we're coming out of the first lockdown and then we're going into another one. So I get crap for saying coming out of a lockdown. We are going into another lockdown here in California, but coming out of the first lockdown, all these customers are calling me and their equipment hasn't been maintained for 4 months or even longer, okay? And everything is filthy. So the unit's not working right. It doesn't have a good temperature differential across the evaporator coils, or across the evaporator coil, I should say. So, I'm not going to put my gauges on it until I clean it up, until I tighten the belt, clean the evaporator, clean the condenser. Because if I put my service gauges on that unit, it would be pointless. We would have low suction pressure. We would have high discharge pressure. There's no point until you clean it up and get it operating properly. And then while I'm prefacing or talking about a unit that I just did, while I was working on it, the blower assembly was dirty. It was plugged up, so I knew I had to clean it. So there is absolutely, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Jim Bergman, who is a really smart dude who made the Measure Quick app. He used to work for iManifold. He's done a lot of different stuff. He was co-founder of TrueTech Tools. Very, very smart guy, great educator. You'll hear him on Brian Orr's podcast and HVAC School all the time. Jim said something one time. He said, you know what? He says, you have absolutely no business putting your service gauges on a system if you don't know what the pressure should be, okay? And that is very true. And at the same time, we have no business putting our service gauges on there if we know that the system is dirty because we're wasting our time. We have to clean it up. Then we can put our service gauges on there. Then we can evaluate it properly, okay? So hopefully that answers your question in a tangent form as usual, okay? I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, definitely hit the thumbs up button, guys. We have a lot of people in here right now, and we have 123 likes, so do me a favor and smash that like button. I'd like to see that like number reflect the count of people that I have watching the stream, which is 474 right now. So smash the like button, guys. If you're on a mobile device, all you got to do is hit the back button, back out, hit the like button, pull the chat back up. It's really easy. So thank you guys very much. Please, please do that, okay? Let's get to my list of things to talk about here, okay? Johnny had asked me a question. Johnny asked me a question about supermarket rack systems. And if I remember your comment right, Johnny, you had said you're in the industry for a couple years and you see me working on refrigeration racks and you want to know more about supermarket refrigeration racks. Okay, first off, I have never worked on a supermarket rack system in my life, okay? So I am not an expert on rack systems. But Johnny's questions in general were about supermarket racks, and he was asking about how hard it was to learn a rack system. So I thought this was the perfect environment or perfect opportunity to talk about something, okay? So in general, we have two types of service technicians in our trade. We have the service technician that just kind of rolls with the punches, does what he has to do to get by, collects a paycheck and moves on. And then you have a service tech that is really inquisitive. He's curious. He likes to dig into things. His calls tend to take a little bit longer. The dispatcher may get a little bit more upset with him because why is it taking you so long? But he genuinely wants to know what's going on, okay? Adam, thank you so very much for that super chat, okay? Adam wants to do an overtime Yeti, okay? So we'll do that here in just a second, all right? Let me finish answering this question. Don't let me forget, Adam, okay? So with those two different types of service questions or service technicians, okay? You have a service technician that does supermarket work, okay? You have service techs that do supermarket work that are not the best technicians in the world, and then you have techs that are amazing techs. They typically get promoted to supervisor positions, upper-level service technician positions, and they get moved on. Scott, thank you so very much for that super chat, okay? But in general, okay, you can survive in the supermarkets being a mediocre service technician, but you can thrive in the supermarkets being an excellent service technician. The same can go for light commercial like I do. The same can go for residential service technicians, okay? So how hard is it to learn supermarket work? Well, it's going to be time consuming, okay? You're going to have to think a little bit harder, but in general, okay, it's the same principles. You start out with the basic principles that I talk about all the time, looking at the big picture. thinking about things before you do them. Understanding that the problem with your expansion valve, more than likely, is going to be a plugged up strainer, okay? Just like this one has a plugged up strainer. Very big thing in the supermarkets, okay? You also have to understand that in the supermarkets, you're not going to have as much time to get things done. Customers, they've got thousands and thousands of dollars worth of product in their deli cases, in their coffin cases, in their walk-ins, and it needs to be fixed 2 minutes ago. Okay, so you can't pull a perfect vacuum. You can't braze with nitrogen every time. You're dealing with a pump down system. Hell, half the time you're probably not even pumping it down completely. You're just pulling it down to a lower pressure and doing a hot swap on the power head or the thing, you know? So therefore, in the supermarket side, they get plugged up strainers all the time because they don't have the time to pull perfect vacuums, okay? So where am I going with this? In general, in HVAC and all trades, you have the techs. The most important thing is if you understand the proper way to do things, okay? So how hard is it to learn supermarkets? I wouldn't say that it's harder in general than any other aspect of the trade. There's going to be certain things that you have to focus on. There's definitely more controls. There's definitely more energy efficiency valves, reheat, different things like that you're going to have to learn. So it is probably in the upper echelon of HVACR for sure, okay? Along with that is going to come crazy hours, crazy paychecks. You're going to get amazing paychecks, right? But you have to be ready to work your ass off, okay? You have to be out there. And you can be a tech that does a half-ass job, but you're probably not going to excel as far as the tech that is amazing, okay? So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but it is what it is, okay? So I'm going to get to the chat real quick. Laska Lives asked, what should you focus on when learning switching from residential to commercial HVAC? The very most important thing that you should focus on when switching from resi to commercial is the fundamentals, okay? Oftentimes, residential service techs, I'm not saying all of them, but oftentimes they come from companies that are high-pressure sales companies where the technicians really aren't spending as much time learning the fundamentals, okay? You can excel and succeed in the commercial side if you just understand the basic fundamentals and how voltage works, how the refrigeration cycle works. You can transfer that on up to the commercial side. So when you step from residential to commercial, what you're going to realize is there's a lot less pressure to sell, okay? There's still some, but there's a lot less pressure to sell, and there's more pressure to repair and get it operating. But you have to understand there's a lot more controls built into the systems. You have lots of pressure controls. You have special fancy thermostats. You have economizers. That's a whole nother thing. Energy efficiency devices that essentially use free cooling. Marco, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. That is very awesome. I really, really appreciate it, okay? So let's do this. The first person, again, because I still don't have this whole giveaway thing worked out. The first person, I said it in the beginning of the stream, the first person to send me an email, okay, be ready for it. The first person to send me an email with my wife's name in it to hvacrvideos@gmail.com will win an overtime Yeti cup, okay? So first person to send me an email with the correct, my wife's first name, will win an overtime cup. And I'm watching my email right now. So the first email that pops up with the correct my wife's correct name, first name, will win an overtime Yeti, okay? All right, let's get to my list of things to talk about right here. I'm just kind of monitoring the emails right now. Someone tell me what my wife's name is, okay? Thoughts on the Internet of Things and HVAC integration. Ayima, I don't know if that's how you pronounce your name. So the Internet of Things is our smart devices. Okay, wait, hold on. Justin Ramenschneider. My wife's name is Jill. That is correct. Justin Ramenschneider was the first person to guess my wife's name. That is correct. Justin, send an email to hvacOvertime@gmail.com. Adam will take care of that, and he will send you an overtime Yeti. Guys, and do me a favor, guys, and check out the overtime channel. Friday nights, We go live. It's just us guys. We're talking. It's myself. Our friend Yamo comes in every once in a while. It's HVACR North, Joe. It's A-Team Adam, and Curious HVAC guy, Bill. We all go on there and we're just hanging out talking. Okay, guys? So check out the channel, subscribe to it, and Friday evenings we go live, okay? So let's see what else we got going on in here. Yeah, it's funny. My email's blowing up right now with everybody guessing. So, okay, let me get to my list of things to talk about here. All right, I covered that one. Someone had asked me, I've actually seen this a bunch of times come through, when I am diagnosing electrical shorts, when I'm trying to find issues, why do I not use an insulation tester or a megger or a mega ohm meter? Okay, guys, I do not own a mega ohm meter, nor have I ever owned a mega ohm meter. I have interest in one, but it's just one of those things that I haven't had a real need for it yet. I've contemplated buying one over the years, okay? I do not really believe in a mega ohm meter or an insulation tester for testing compressors. If any of you are interested, I can send you the Copeland Technical Bulletin, where it says that they don't recommend using an insulation tester for a one-time use. So you have these insulation testers that you can buy at the supply house. They're relatively inexpensive, and they just give you a pass or a fail LED light. Copeland basically tells you that, hey, you know what? That insulation tester is not really the smartest thing, because if you understand the principles of the insulation, the windings on the compressor, and what moisture can do to those windings, you can have a compressor that might not pass what you would consider a pass or a fail situation on a scroll compressor when it just has moisture in the system. Maybe there's a lot of moisture in there and it can cause it to fail the insulation test. So you have to be very careful when using a mega ohm meter or an insulation tester diagnosing compressors. Copeland actually recommends that you do it over a slow period of time, looking at trending data. So essentially, when you're doing a PM, let's just say in a perfect world, you're doing a PM every month, and you put a megger on that compressor, and you notice the levels, you monitor the outdoor air temperature, you monitor the compressor's discharge line temperature, or the head of the compressor, and you look at it, and then you trend that over a series of time. That's the way that they recommend to do it. Now, I do completely agree and understand why you would use a mega ohm meter or an insulation tester on a motor or to test windings and wire, but it's just not something that I found a use for. But I'm not knocking anybody that uses them, okay? I just haven't really been able to justify the cost of an insulation tester. I've done really well testing with my meter, which does very, very low mega ohm readings, but essentially just testing for ground. Now, there's certain situations that I have tested things that, yeah, an insulation tester probably would have helped me, but I just haven't really been able to justify the cost. So that's the reason why I don't use a megger, okay? Let me see what else. We got in here. I'm looking to see if I'm missing anything in the chat. For spin motors, yeah. When do I no longer consider an apprentice an apprentice? So at what point? It's really going to change for every single apprentice. It really depends. If I have an apprentice that's been with me for a long time, and my process is that he'll, shadow me for a very long time. In the past, he would ride with me in my van for a very long time, but things are changing now, right, because of the whole virus and stuff. So we're probably not going to be riding in the same van anymore. But he's going to shadow me for a long time, and I'm going to slowly test the waters and let him diagnose things while I'm there. Then maybe let him get to a job before I get there and try to diagnose it. Then maybe send him out, and then I follow up the next day. And over a series of time, I'm going to feel comfortable, but it's really going to depend on every apprentice. Now, in a perfect world, within 3 to 6 months, an apprentice is able to maybe let me, or maybe I can send them to do a preventative maintenance within 3 to 6 months, and then slowly let them go from there, okay? But it really changes with every single apprentice. John Deere fan 725, can Masterbuilt evaporator coils run with Russell parts? Yes, okay, but you got to be careful about that, because sometimes Masterbuilt might have some proprietary circuit board in one of their fancy evaporators. You got to be careful about that, okay? But I will also argue with you that Masterbuilt oftentimes gets their evaporators built by the same company that Russell gets their evaporators built. Whether or not it's one of those companies or another company, I don't know, but they often will share the same parts. The same thing with RDI, Colpack. They tend to use all the same basic evaporator, and then they just add their proprietary controls. So the easy answer is yes, a Masterbuilt evaporator could work with a Russell part, assuming that it is the correct part, that it has the same, specifications and different things like that. So that's a great question. LM Sylvia says, when the apprentice has the right tool before you ask it for him. And that's something I've said many times. As an apprentice, I suggest that you guys understand and guess what or know what your mentor is going to need before he needs it. And that is a great point. So when I'm working with an apprentice and we're changing a compressor and I'm brazing in the compressor, maybe it's time for me to let him do it, or maybe he's just watching, right? So I'm brazing it in. I would expect for him to get ready to hand me the dryer, or for him to say, hey, would you like me to go get the vacuum pump? Because he knows I'm going to need that vacuum pump, right? He knows that I'm going to need whatever. So you need to start being able to predict what your mentor is going to need before they need it. And that's going to help you as an apprentice to understand, okay, this is the process. While he's brazing, we're getting ready to do the electrical. So I need to get his electrical fitting case. We're getting ready to do the vacuum. I better go get his vacuum equipment, that kind of stuff. And at the same time, a good apprentice is going to learn that, hey, you know what? I'm going down to the truck to get his vacuum pump, and I noticed that the recovery machine's still on the roof. We're done with the recovery machine. And he's going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take that down with me to save time. That's when he's really starting to get the idea that, hey, you know what? It's all about being lazy. So, I don't want, or I shouldn't say lazy, but about being efficient, right? When I say lazy, I mean, in general, I'm lazy. So I want to do the least amount of trips back and forth to my van. But I know that's a weird way of saying you also got to be efficient by doing that too. So, all right. Let me get to some more things on my list right here. So when you're working on smart evaporators, I've noticed that one of the things that I notice is on the electrical section and sometimes on the expansion valve section, we'll tend to see a lot of ice buildup. And then you'll see freeze up issues on the smart evaporators that tend to start from the electrical or the expansion valve section, and then the ice builds over. So a smart evaporator is an evaporator that has logic built into it, right, on a walk-in freezer typically. And it's going to do predictive defrosts or some sort of logic to say, hey, you know what, we don't need a defrost. It's going to look at certain parameters and it's going to skip defrost. It's about energy efficiency. But a trend that I have noticed on smart evaporators is the side panels icing up quite often. Okay, so there's all sorts of sensors that keep the coil clear that allow the box to run and run and run, and it does a really good job maintaining temps. But what I start to notice is then the side panels, the ice starts to build up where there's no sensors, where there's no defrost heaters. And it runs for so long that we start to get ice buildup in those. And then it slowly starts to build into the walk-in evaporator itself. Just a trend that I've started to notice. And we also have to understand that when we're working on smart evaporators, sometimes you're not necessarily going to find the reason for the ice up. So long as you test everything else, the sensors and different things like that. It could just be that this thing hasn't been defrosting enough lately. There's a lot of redundancy built into a standard evaporator that has electric heat that just has a time delay defrost termination built in, that kind of clicks on relays or whatever, because it'll typically do too many defrosts to make sure that everything is defrosted. But when you have these smart ones, oftentimes they can actually miss it, which an argument can be made that they're actually not that smart. You input your information there. So, all right, let's see what else. Efficiency equals smarty, lazy people often do the work. Smarter, lazy people often do the work, or often double the work. Wait, no, I didn't read that right. Efficiency equals smarter, lazy people often do double the work. Smarter, lazy people. That's an interesting phrase. Yeah, I have to think about that one for a minute. What is the gas ballast on a field piece vacuum pump? John Deere Fan 725. On any vacuum pump, majority of them have a gas ballast. And what the gas ballast will do is it allows you to pull an initial pull down without running the air or the moisture that's in the system through the oil. So essentially it's pulling on the system, right? So if you open the gas ballast, it actually doesn't push it through the oil. It just pumps it right out of the pump, okay? So you're not going to get as deep of a vacuum when you have the gas ballast open. What you're actually theoretically going to do is save the vacuum pump oil, because the vacuum pump oil can get contaminated by a lot of moisture. So if you have a system that's really moisture laden, it's really, really bad. Anytime you open a vacuum pump, you really should open the gas ballast. What I like to do is run it with the gas ballast open until it gets to about 1500 microns to 1000, somewhere in there. And then I close the gas ballast and it starts to pull through the oil to get a much deeper vacuum. Okay. So that works the same on a JB pump, on a field piece pump, on a NAVAC pump. Any pump that has a gas ballast, it's the same thing. Okay. Essentially, it allows it to pull without putting it through the vacuum pump oil, so it doesn't contaminate the oil with whatever contaminants are in the system. Hopefully that answers your question, okay? Oh, sorry, the Internet of Things question. Yeah, that did come up and I forgot about it. So the Internet of Things is totally new within our trade. Again, I'm a little bit skeptical about all this new technology coming in, but I do have customers that have smart Wi-Fi thermostats in their restaurant. I've got a restaurant that I can pull up on my phone right now and look at all their ACs and see discharge air temperatures, room temperatures, and know if the system's running. So it's cool technology, but where I'm worried about the Internet of Things is the same thing that people are worried about the IoT when it comes to residential homes, and that's security, okay? If we have a bunch of customers out there that have, smart thermostats via Wi-Fi connected to their package units on the roof, and they don't have proper security on their systems, that can be a problem, right? We had Target. Target had the big giant credit card fraud thing that happened, and they actually went in through a back door. A hacker was able to access the building automation system and access all their credit card readers and everything through the HVAC building automation system. So without proper security, without proper IT guys making sure that the system is secure, the Internet of Things is a giant weak point and a vulnerability for everything, okay? These restaurants have POS systems that run their credit card readers. If they have their air conditioners on the same network that the credit card readers are on and they don't have proper security, they're vulnerable. So that does worry me. It also worries me in that my phone is connected when I dial into a restaurant, but I worry about giving that to my service technicians, because even I'm afraid, because I can access restaurants that I don't normally do because they don't have a very secure network, and they've got 3 restaurants, one of which I do, 2 that I don't, that are on the same program. Then I can control the ACs at the other 2 restaurants. So that worries me to give all of my service technicians connection to that, because then theoretically they can accidentally make a mistake and screw up someone else's air conditioning system. So I am a little bit worried. We need to have some more technology. Ironically, we need to have better security on our technology, right? Technology should be pretty smart, but yeah, that's my view on the Internet of Things. It's cool. It's awesome, but I'm worried about the security. All right. Yeah, exactly, Dave G. Yeah, theoretically, if I got mad, I could fire up the heat, but that scares me because I wouldn't want to put that control into one of my employees' hands or anything like that. That does scare me, the amount of information we can get. So, all right, let's see what else. Yeah, it definitely, LM Sylvia says it can be great for checking alarms on walk-in freezers and walk-in coolers. Yes, it can be great. It can be, but it can also be dangerous in the wrong hands. So that's what worries me. All right, I'm going to get to my list right here. Okay, great. I get this question all the time because I have a lot of international viewers from other countries all around the world, and they're asking me, hey, why do I top off R22 systems? I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. In the United States, we are allowed to use R22. We are allowed to use new R22. Okay, it's fine. The rules is that we are not allowed to import new R22, and we are not allowed to produce new R22 within the United States, and we cannot bring it in from other countries. So we have stockpiles of new R22 built up in supply houses, and then we also have stockpiles of recovered, reclaimed R22 that has been cleaned, refined to AHRI 600, blah, 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 decimal point specs, whatever, right? We're going to be using R22 for the near future. So people ask me, how do I top off a system that has R22? In the United States, we are allowed to top off systems. If a system has a leak, we don't have to fix it. We can just put gas in it. Now,
of course, we want to fix the leak, right? Because we want to do the right thing. It's not good to release that refrigerant into the atmosphere, but there's some leaks that aren't practical to fix. There's a tiny leak that leaks out over a couple years. Now, in the past, there was a rule that any system that had more than 50 pounds of refrigerant, you had to repair the leaks within so much time. They give you like a window. But I believe even that rule has been rolled back. Okay. So, but I know for a fact that anything under 50 pounds, you can put it in there. You can keep topping it off for however long. Anything over 50 pounds, in the past, there was a rule. I heard that rule went away. I don't know. I typically don't work on systems that have more than 50 pounds of refrigerant. So R22 is the thing. It's not going away anytime soon. Yes, in like 10 years, there's another phase out or something like that. But for the time being, we're allowed to use R22. So let me get to my list of things to talk about. Let me see what else we got. Internet service. So someone asked me a question about Measure Quick. I use Measure Quick quite often in my videos. I do like Measure Quick as a software. Measure Quick couples with the field piece probes, with the testo probes. It pretty much works with all the major players. The UEI probes, the I-manifold probes, okay? Measure Quick has all kinds of diagnostic stuff built into it. I like it. I got no affiliation with them. I personally don't use the diagnostics in Measure Quick. I like to look at them when I make a diagnosis just to see if it guesses the same thing as me. But the question that I had about Measure Quick is do you have to have an internet connection? No, you do not have to have an internet connection to use Measure Quick. There is some features that you're going to miss out on if you don't have an internet connection, but you do not have to have it. You do at one point have to create a login. You do have to log into it. So it's at some point you have to have a connection, but once you log in, you're good to go. You can continue to use it. And then you just miss out on some emailing reports and certain reporting features, but that's that. Joseph Orris, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. What's the worst I've hurt myself on a job? So potentially hurt myself. I fell off a ladder one time and I was really lucky. I think I've told this story before. I was climbing up a ladder. I was one-handing it. I had my oxyacetylene torch on my left hand and I was pulling it, reaching up, and I missed the top rung and I fell back. I didn't fall very far, maybe 20 feet. When I fell, my torches were in my hand and I remember all this stuff flashed through my head. I fell back and I actually landed on a chain link fence that was covering the back dock of the restaurant. I landed between two poles, right next to a pole that was sticking up, came up right next to me, but I didn't hit it. I landed on the chain link fence. It was like landing on a hammock. I was fine. Nothing was hurt. Nothing. I was super lucky. That was one of the things that scared me the most. It was that moment that I realized I was trying too hard. I was going too fast and I needed to slow down. Okay. As far as anything else that I've ever hurt myself on the job, really, I've been very fortunate in that, just like burns, grabbing discharge lines, running the oxyacetylene torch across my hand, things like that. That's pretty much it. Getting stuff in my eyes, that happens a lot too. My eyelids don't close fast enough in reaction to things. So I've probably been to the doctor probably 8 or 9 times to get stuff taken out of my eyeballs, which kind of scares me because it's kind of dangerous, but that's the worst of it. I've been very lucky and fortunate. All right. Let's see what else we got in here. I need to do a travel mug for coffee in my merch. Yeah, that's a good idea. You guys, you have to understand something. The whole merch thing, guys, I said it in the beginning of the stream. My website is live, hvacrvideos.com. Right now, there's no more large hats, but I have hats. I have shirts. I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. For those that haven't seen them yet, I'll show you the back of mine. So it says big picture diagnosis on it. It's got the snowflake on the front. There's a white, there's a gray, there's a black. So hvacrvideos.com, you guys can check it out. The whole merch thing, to be honest with you, I really wasn't interested in merch. It was something that seemed kind of silly to me. Again, I'm not treating this whole videos thing as probably the way I should treat it. Most people go into this with like a business model and they're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these sponsors. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make all this money. Don't get me wrong. I do make money from my sponsors and from YouTube, but that's not my main goal. My main goal is I have fun doing this. So when it came for the merch, people were asking me, hey, you should make shirts, you should do that. And I was kind of like, that seems silly to me in the first place. So, I made it eventually. And even still, when I was setting up this website, guys, the stress that I went through setting up the website, trying to do it myself until finally and actually, I got to give credit to Joseph M. Orst. Okay. Joseph, reached out to me in a video, and I was at my wit's end, right? And I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. This is driving me nuts. I was trying to do the website myself. I was using website builders. I tried all these different website builders, and I just couldn't get it the way that I wanted it. And he had reached out to me. He told me he was in an IT. That's his job. He's an IT pro. And I asked him, hey, dude, do you know anybody that does websites? And he actually messaged back to me and gave me a lead to one of his buddies. And the dude ended up doing an awesome job, made the website for me. So it's thanks to Joseph that I got the website made. So anyways, but it was like a super stressful time up until I finally hired someone to do it for me. It cost me, a lot of money, but it was worth it because it was peace of mind to get done right and to get done by someone that actually knew what they were doing. But the whole point why I said that is I was never interested in any of this. It was just, I'm making these videos, I do these live streams, and people kept asking me, where's the merch? Where's the merch? Where's the merch? And I finally said, I guess I got to make merch, So as far as travel mugs and different things like that, I'm going to be very slow to institute other things because that's not my main goal. And I know that you guys want the shirts. That's cool, but that's not my main goal. My main goal is just to have fun doing this, and I don't want this to turn into something that is like another job, right? I love what I do in HVAC, but I love what I do because I take the time to do it right and I have fun doing it. But the moment that it turns into something that I hate, I don't want it to be that. So I'm going to have fun with this. And, I know I'll come up with stickers eventually. And I don't know about travel mugs. I don't know. We'll see. But, and I don't mean to be rude to anybody. It's just, I'm just going to do it and have fun with it. So, all right. Let me see what else. When's the next tool review on the HVACR tools channel? Actually, I was just thinking about that. Now that I've gotten through the website, I've got a couple different things I want to work on. We're going to work on the Discord server, but the Discord server is going to be different. It's not going to be like last time. It's not going to be a clusterfuck. It's going to be fun, and it's just going to be a place to hang out. And I'm also going to pay more attention to that HVACR tools channel that I launched too. So that'll be coming up more. Jessica, I tried to send you an email, Jessica Egan, but I don't think it went through right, but I'll send it to you tonight because I have a offer code for you to order those shirts where you can just go through the website and you guys don't have to pay. I'll send that to you, Jessica, tonight, and hopefully that works. Okay, so I'll send it after the stream. Let's see what else. Let me see what I'm missing here. My phone is going off. Interesting. Okay, cool. All right, let's see what else I got going on in here. When I was younger and would help my father in the trade, would interest me the most. HVAC Smith asked me that one. When I was younger working for my dad, so for those that don't know, I grew up working for my father, okay? I was probably from 6 years old up. I would sit on his bucket. He had a tool bucket. I would hold his Maglite 4-cell D flashlight. I probably wouldn't hold it very straight because first off, it was heavy. And second off, I was a 6-year-old that was distracted by a fly that would, and it probably I know it would irritate the hell out of my dad. But what was the funnest thing? Honestly, when I was a kid working for my dad, I hated this trade. I remember in junior high school telling my dad I wanted nothing to do with this anymore. I hated it. It was miserable for me. It was hot. You got to figure my dad, for the most part, when I was working with him, he wouldn't have me downstairs changing expansion valves or changing compressors. I was doing grunt work. I was changing belts on ACs in the heat. I was changing swamp cooler pads on evaporative coolers. I was changing filters. It was a miserable job. I hated it. So yeah, it was not fun. It was something about after high school. I was working, I did a brief stint working at a body shop, and I decided that I didn't want to do the body shop work anymore, and I came to work for my dad in 2002 officially, and then here we are now. All right, let's see what else we got going on in here. What am I missing? What's the worst thing I've seen happen to a package unit? Just neglect, people not taking care of it for sure. Adam Neal, thank you so very much for that super chat, bud. We'll see you next time, okay? Thank you so very much. Can I bring my dad on a live stream? I've said that before. One of these times I'll ask him if it's something he's interested in. It's funny because my wife was sitting in here before the live stream with me while I was just kind of setting things up. And I always ask her every single time, you want to come on the live stream? She's like, no. And she walks away. So it's probably the same thing. I've never asked my dad, but I don't know that he would be interested in it. But one of these days, I'm sure I can get him on here to talk. So, what's the biggest unit I have worked on? I don't work on anything big. I've always done light commercial. So the biggest unit I've worked on is a 35 ton Train, Intellipack. That's it. I don't work on anything bigger than that. On average, how long does it take to do one? Julian. On average, how long does it take to do one? I don't know, Julian. I don't see context to that question. I don't know what you mean. What's the big... Okay, I already answered that one. Greetings from Germany. Hello. Oh, I want to address this right now. So as far as the merch and different things like that go, so it's available right now in the United States. It's available in Canada and Mexico. Those are the only places I can ship to right now. I have a lot of people from Europe, from Germany, from Australia, there's a bunch of other countries too. I've probably gotten 15 to 20 emails from different people from all parts of the world asking me to ship merch to them. I'm working on some ideas on how I don't like, I'm working on some ideas on how to make that work. Okay. It's not practical right now for me to ship the merch. It's even kind of hard for me to ship the merch to Canada and Mexico. The freight is ridiculously expensive. And yes, I know there's certain places that are cheaper, but you have to look at simplicity for us too. I go through U.S. Postal Service. So, but I am working on some things. I have some ideas on how maybe I can get some merch to some of the other countries. So just stay tuned. I'll work on that here coming soon too, but it's not going to be tomorrow. It's going to take some time to figure that out. Okay. I do appreciate you guys that watch this from other countries, but it's just going to take some time to figure out the logistics of it all. How many techs does my service company roughly have? So we're a small service company, Derek. We have 4 techs, including myself. So we're very small. 4 trucks out on the road. 3 of them are service techs, including myself. And then we have one guy that's learning, but he's also a maintenance tech. He does some service, so he's working his way up. Okay. So 4 techs altogether. Very, very small. What type of music do I listen to, Rick? Rick, I listen to everything. Before this stream, I was on a Pink Floyd rant, listening to a bunch of different songs for the last hour before the stream from Pink Floyd. The next day, I'll be listening to some, country music. I listen to rap. I listen to rock, Metallica, Def Leppard, old school rock, Van Halen, old school rock. I listen to everything, okay? All sorts of music. It's really easy for me to just push the country radio station, the highway on Sirius XM, just listen to that all day long. That's super easy for me. My wife likes country music too. I really like 80s music. I like yacht rock, a little bit of everything. I listen to rap too, so a little bit of everything. All right. Explain exactly the R22 retrofit to 407C with an oil change. If you're going to do a retrofit to 407C, and you follow the manufacturer's instructions, you need to do an oil change in the system. I realize that some people do some other things where they just add polyester oil, so much of it to help, but the correct way to do a retrofit to 407C is to do a complete oil change it over to polyester oil from mineral oil. Okay, if it's already polyester oil, you're good to go. But if it's got mineral oil or alkylbenzene oil, your best bet is to remove all that oil, put polyester in there, change the seals, change the O-rings, change the Schraders, put 407C, charge it to superheat and or subcooling depending on your system. Okay, you don't just weigh in the R22 charge, evaluate the system after that, and go from there. You don't just weigh it in and walk away. Okay, that is the proper way to do a 407C retrofit. Change the oil. Now, some people say they don't have to do that. Good for them. I don't use 407C. If I was going to use it, I would do an oil change. I'm going to put my buddy Ralph's email in the chat right now. Ralph works for Honeywell Refrigerants. He's always willing to help you guys out when it comes to issues with refrigerants and retrofits and different things like that. Email Ralph. He can help you out a little bit more, okay? If anybody has contacts at Rogue Brewing, hook me up. Tell them that Chris is always drinking their beer on his live stream, and tell them to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. No, I'm just kidding, but I'm not. All right, let's see what else. My buddy Bill's in here, curious HVAC guy. One more guy from the Overtime Show. All right, let's see what else we got. I got a whole nother list here. I want to get to the chat though too. You guys got more questions, things you want me to talk about? I had a bunch of questions. So for those of you that don't know, I do some promotional material for Field Piece. I don't work with them as a sponsor for my channel, but I have done some promotional materials. So if you guys happen to see Field Piece advertisements in the supply house, if you see the little brochures they have on the counter, Scroll through that. You guys will see me in those brochures. So one of the questions I get all the time about the field piece stuff is in the video, I am hanging my field piece S-man gauges from this magnetic mag ring. This is called a mag ring, okay? M-A-G-R-I-N-G. And I'm hanging my gauges from it. It is a heavy duty magnet. And everybody asks, where the heck did you get that magnet? In fact, my contacts at Fieldpiece have also said they get feedback on all their social media channels all the time, not asking about their gauges, but asking about this damn magnet that I was hanging their S-man from when I was using it. I got this one from RSD, which is my local supply house. But if you guys just look up mag ring, one word, magnet, you guys will find it. They have them on Amazon. They have them at different supply houses. It's called a mag ring. It is a high strength magnet, and I just hang my gauges from it. So that is a question I get all the time. Where can you buy a field piece shirt? Albert, I have no idea, bud. I do not know where field piece shirts come from. So I don't know about that one. All right, let me see what else we got. I got text messages coming in. Oh, yeah, I already answered that. Okay, cool. Sweet. All right, cool. Guys, I see all kinds of emails coming in there. I'll get to them when I'm done with the stream, okay? So, let me look at my list here. This is one I wanted to talk about very much, okay? Blended refrigerants. We kind of talked about 407C a few minutes ago doing a retrofit. Guys, blended refrigerants. When you're going to the supply house and they're telling you, hey, you can use this refrigerant as a replacement for insert gas here. And they said it works perfect, okay? Supply houses are not as informed about the requirements that the manufacturers want you to use when you're doing a retrofit refrigerant, okay? So in the 80s, coming out of the 80s and the early 90s, we had still R12 and R502 systems. I was coming up during that time, okay? So towards the mid 90s and the late 90s, when I was working with my father, even the early 2000s, we still had a lot of R12 and R502 systems out there. So we were using drop-in replacement gases. R409A and R408A was the two gases. MP39, MP66 were two of the other ones that we would use every once in a while. So coming up in the trade, I was always taught, yeah, you can't clear a sight glass with a 409A refrigerant charge. Never understood that. That never sat right with me because I knew that an expansion valve needed a clear sight glass to operate properly. Now, a sight glass only indicates a solid column of liquid at that point in the system. I understand that, okay? But for an expansion valve to work properly the way that it was designed, it needs a solid column of liquid going to the expansion valve for it to feed refrigerant correctly, okay? With blended refrigerants, they would often tell you that you put in 80% of the charge. Well, if you had a expansion valve system that had a receiver, 80% of the charge, the sight glass wouldn't be clear anymore. So there was some misinformation there. Now, the other thing that happened with a lot of these blended refrigerants is they were told, like for instance, 409A was an R12 replacement. Well, 409A ran extremely high head pressure compared to R12. The systems were not designed appropriately to have this extra refrigerant that had higher density, that needed more condenser space, okay? So if you cleared a sight glass with 409A on a walk-in cooler, what you would notice is the compressor would be overloaded. It would go off on a thermal overload. It would have issues. And it's not necessarily because you couldn't clear the sight glass. It was because the system was not designed correctly to be able to use that new refrigerant. Okay, so with that being said, for an expansion valve to work correctly, it needs a solid column of liquid, whether you're working on an air conditioner or a refrigerator. An expansion valve needs a solid column of liquid going to it, period. Okay? But if your system is not designed properly and it doesn't have a big enough receiver, doesn't have a big enough condenser, you may not be able to clear that sight glass to give you a solid column of liquid without making system changes. We as technicians need to be able to understand the correct way to do things. And if we don't understand the correct way to do things and we're just kind of half-assing it, we're going to have issues. And it's going to give different refrigerants a bad name. Now, some of the blame does go to refrigerant manufacturers because they don't have a lot of good information out there. But newer refrigerant manufacturers, such as Honeywell and some other ones, they have some pretty good information out there. But supply houses tend to be the weak point. So we have really good supply houses and we have supply house managers that know what they're doing. But then you have a guy that's working behind the counter that maybe doesn't know what he's doing, but he's heard other service technicians say, oh yeah, you can put 407C right on top of R22. It'll work fine. So then he'll continue to tell that to people. That is completely incorrect, guys. So you cannot just trust what some dude at a supply house tells you. On the flip side, you cannot just trust what some dude on YouTube tells you either. You guys need to do the research. You need to not be lazy, and you need to know how systems work. Read the installation instructions from the manufacturer. I don't care what refrigerant. I challenge every one of you guys to look at all these drop-in refrigerants, and I challenge you to tell me what drop-in refrigerant does not say that it works best with polyester oil. Okay, so any of the R22 replacements out there, you'll see that some of them have some things in there that say, you know what, you don't need to do an oil change. But if you look at it in the fine print on that retrofit refrigerant, it's going to say works best with R22, or I'm sorry, with polyester oil. Okay, so they don't like to really make it publicly known because some of these refrigerant manufacturers, they're there to make money. They're not there to make technicians work harder, essentially. Okay, so they don't really give you all the information right up in the front. But if you really read the installation instructions for any one of those retrofit refrigerants, I can pretty much guarantee you every one of them is going to say it works best with polyester oil. Okay, that basically is code for change the oil. I don't care what refrigerant you're dealing with. Okay, it's going to say that. So I challenge you guys, if you guys have a refrigerant that explicitly says in the instructions it absolutely does not need an oil change, and it absolutely does not have issues with pressure drop, it does not have issues with oil return, with long line sets, or any of that stuff, send me an email. I'd like to know about that refrigerant. But I bet you anything that you guys do your research, every refrigerant out there is going to tell you the easiest way to deal with this and the best way to deal with it is to just do a proper oil change. All right, let's see what else we got in here. All right, nothing in there. I have this note on here. This is funny. Cork tape is the devil's invention himself, okay? I do not like cork tape. Cork tape is that rubber masticing material that we use to wrap insulation lines. I hate the stuff, and it is the devil's invention because cork tape is a nightmare. You end up with cuts. You end up with bleeding hands because you end up having to take a damn razor blade and a walk-in freezer and try to cut the cork tape off. It is a nightmare. It's just, I just wanted to make that point. Cork tape is stupid. If you manufacture cork tape, you're an asshole. Sorry. All right. Let me see. Throw some stuff in the chat, guys. I'll try to answer some more questions in the chat. See, Chris still doesn't give you a wrench yet. Oh, yeah. I don't know why Bill doesn't have a wrench. Bill should have a wrench. Let me see. There you go. Bill, you just became a moderator. All right. What do we got in the chat? Definitely try to get any wasp attack stories. So, interesting thing, in California, we haven't had wasps really bad in a long time. When I was coming up in the trade, we had wasps all the time. We used to carry wasp spray in our vans. I don't see them anymore. Rarely ever see wasps anymore. Every once in a while you see one or two, but nope, not like we used to. It's a weird thing. It's probably global warming or something. All right. What did I work on today? So today, I worked on a small package unit. We changed an indoor blower assembly, and then we had it rebuilt. And then I also went and changed the circuit board on a 15-ton Linux Prodigy package unit. I'll release a video on it, but it's this whole epic thing where it ended up being a VFD, and then it just led to a lot of other stuff. So can I explain oil change process? Unsweat the compressor, tip it over, pour the oil out, pour new oil in the compressor, sweat it back in, call it a day. So some of the newer compressors, they have oil change ports, but on most air conditioners, you're not so lucky. So manufacturers don't want to tell you this of the refrigerants. They don't want to tell you how hard it is to change oil in a compressor. In a reciprocating compressor that's sealed, that doesn't have an oil change port, essentially unsweat it, pour the oil out, put it back in, pour oil in, call it a day. It's a pain in the ass. It's a big process. But they want to tell you, oh, it's so easy. You don't have to do an oil change. But then yet you're going to lose the compressor real short in a short amount of time. So Yeah, wasps don't like my county. They moved over to yours up there. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we don't have wasps down here at all anymore. It's really weird. Um, yeah, Hotshot Retro from R12. So Hotshot was another one because Hotshot runs a pretty high discharge pressure as compared to R12. So R12 refrigerant pressures anywhere from 100 to 130 psi was pretty typical. And you get into these retrofits like 409A and Hotshot and different things like that. And yeah, you run a lot higher on the head pressure. And then understanding that the systems typically have to be, the volume is not big enough on the evaporators and the condensers. It tends to make it hard to do a conversion. It's a pain in the ass. So, all right. How long does a package unit take? It really depends. I'm literally changing a package unit tomorrow. We've got a couple different guys. We're going to go change a 15-ton kitchen AC, a Linux package unit. It'll probably take, I'll probably be on site for about 7 hours. Lifting, recovering, changing gas lines, drain lines. We'll have a couple other guys there. So I'll probably be there for 7 hours, and then we'll have some other techs there for, and then I got to do startup and everything. So probably 2 to 3 techs for about 6 to 7 hours to do a proper startup and install on a package unit, installing economizers, setting up VFDs and different things like that. Studio tour. That's funny. Yeah, I do have a video called Studio Tour on my YouTube channel. If you guys are interested, it just talks about my software and different things that I use and computer programs. I have nothing fancy about my office, just a Dell computer, and but it does what it needs to do. So, all right, guys, at this point, this is the end of the technical talk. Okay, no more technical talk. I'm not going to do the whole after show kind of a thing. We're just going to transition on over. No more HVAC questions. We're just going to talk about normal stuff. Okay. So, you guys can put normal questions in the chat. You got questions about me. That's fine. The lockdown. So in California, we entered a new phase of lockdown. So they basically took back in dining, seating in restaurants. You're not allowed to eat in a restaurant anymore. The restaurants had to go back to to-go food again. They can seat people on the patios, but they can't seat people in the restaurants. That sucks, man. I get it. I'm just as frustrated, just as scared as everybody else. I totally understand. And I also know practically that our country can't handle another shutdown completely. Our economy is going to fail if we have another complete shutdown. But on the flip side, we have all these people that are getting sick from this virus, and it sucks. So I don't know the answers. I know it sucks in general. It's just one of those things. That's really been hurting me and making me think a lot. I was kind of blown away too with the people that have been supporting the channel by buying merch and different things like that, because I've been like super conservative with my money. I've been like afraid to spend it. But a lot of people in general aren't afraid to spend it. That's very interesting. The stock market and stuff like that's going up and down. It's doing pretty good actually. And that's been a trip to me because, I would think that our economy would be like tanking right now, but it's like kind of, I don't know. It's so confusing to understand what the heck is going on. I don't know how you guys feel about that stuff, but it is such a trip. Definitely crazy. So how do I manage a company and do all these videos? Yeah, that is okay. So I don't manage this company all by myself. My dad and I work together. We're not doing HVAC technical talk, but I don't mind talking about company stuff. So my dad and I run this together. We kind of split the roles. So I handle technical service. I handle customers. I'm the person that the customers see. My dad is in the office. He occasionally, like tomorrow, he'll come out on the job when we do the package unit change out. He'll help me with the crane. I'll signal the crane and all that stuff, but he'll be the one to make sure that the old package unit goes on the truck. That kind of stuff. He'll rig up the new package unit when it's going up onto the roof. So he still helps me, but his main job is he handles billing. He handles the office stuff, payroll. We have a secretary too. So, my secret is that I don't do all the videos. I mean, I don't focus on the company 100% by myself. So, Cruxus, thank you very, very much for that super chat, man. That's super awesome. I really appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, that is awesome. It blows my mind. So, do I have a beverage fridge at home or work? If so, what do I have? Any recommendations on a specific brand, and what do I look for minimum spend? Okay, so Mr. V, if you knew what kind of a refrigerator I have at home, you would be blown away. I have a commercial 2-door refrigerator. So hang on just a second. I'm going to try to find a video real quick, and I will play a little clip on it real quick of the video of the refrigerator that I have in my garage. It is a giant refrigerator. Where is this at? That is not it. I'm looking through my list of videos right now. And where is this at? I don't know what I labeled this video. Trying to find it. Tool videos. I've got a whole list of videos here. I don't. Oh, that's why, because it's not in there. It's already made full videos. I have these weird labels for my videos here. So, 290 conversion. So, hold on just a second. And I will play a clip right now of the giant refrigerator I have in my garage. Let me see. I have it right here. Oh, no, it's not there. Oh, no, I don't have a good video of it. I thought I had a good video that I could show you guys. But I made an R20 or R290 conversion video where I took R290 out of a refrigerator and I put 134A in it, and it's this giant double door refrigerator. That's actually the refrigerator I have in my garage. That is my beverage fridge. It is huge. It was a customer had asked me to throw it away. It was a brand new refrigerator. It's a long story. But yeah, I have this giant double door refrigerator in my garage. I've been thinking about getting an office refrigerator because I have drinks all the time that I'm pouring into here. And it's like, man, I'd like to have a little mini fridge. So I'm probably going to get a mini fridge in here. But I also want to get a mini split because my office is getting ridiculously hot with all this computer gear and these lights and different things blowing, shining on me. So if I put a mini fridge in here, I definitely need a mini split. So that's going to have to happen for sure. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, my home refrigerator, I've been thinking about it. It's probably been a year and a half since I've cleaned the condenser on it. So yeah, it's probably pretty dirty on my home fridge. So let's see what else. 438A. All right, guys, it is that time. I am going to wrap this up because I'm hungry. I need to go eat dinner. I really, really appreciate you guys. Do me a favor. Check out my website, hvacrvideos.com. If you're interested, buy some merch from there. It helps to support the channel. It really does. If anything is sold out, I've got more merch coming. I placed another hat order. I ordered another 50 hats. If I have more, I'm going to place another shirt order too. If you guys are interested, send me an email, something that I have out of stock. Just let me know that you're interested. I'll put you in a folder so that way I know when I'm getting ready when I stock back up. So if there's something that you guys are interested that I'm out of stock, send me an email. That way I can have an idea what you guys want. Because it's kind of scary to order all this merch. It's thousands of dollars of money that I put out on the line. So it's like, man, it's kind of scary to order that not knowing if you're going to sell it or not. So do me a favor. If I'm out of stock, send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Really, really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for supporting the channel in the way that you guys have. It's awesome. I'm going to continue to do these videos. And now that the website's up, I can try to focus a little bit more on some of the other stuff. Do the tools channel. I'll focus on that for sure. And some other stuff too. We'll line up that Discord. That'll be coming soon. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so I really, really appreciate you guys. I'm going to cue up the outro music. And let me pull this up right now. And we will catch you guys on the next one, okay? If y'all could do one thing, if y'all could take one thing from my videos or my live streams, please stop, take a second, take a step back, and look at the big picture.